Hi, thanks for joining. In this video, we will focus on the row-level security feature in Timbr and how to define it. In Timbr, you can create security policies over properties, concepts, mappings, as well as views. In this video, we will define policies over properties. When creating a policy over a property, the policy will be in effect across the entire knowledge graph, regardless of the concept or view that has this property, meaning the policy will apply to all the concepts or views that contain that specific property. So let's see how this works. If we look at an example of one of our knowledge graph models, as seen here, we can see a concept called order, which expresses data about orders in the company. We can also see a concept called customer, which expresses data about the company's customers. One last thing that stands out here, which I filtered up front, is the property country, which is a property of both the order and customer concepts, since an order can come from a country and a customer is based in a country. This is an example of a property that is used by more than one concept. So suppose there are multiple users reviewing the data model, but many of these users have different access permission based on their geographic location. For example, some users have access permission to Europe data, while others have access to US data. In this scenario, we'd want to create two security policies over our country property, so that users from Europe can only see Europe orders, while users from the US can only see US orders. So let's go and see how to create these security policies on the country property. In the first line, we can see the template for creating a policy on a property. The template is quite simple. It starts with create policy. Next, we enter our policy name. Then we type on property and enter our property name. And finally, we type where and enter our filter clause. Let's continue and see the example we described in the data model regarding the Europe and US users. We'll start with the policy for the US users and run the query statement of create policy, in this case, a US policy, on our property country, where country equals USA or US. Once the query finishes running, we'll run the grant policy query statement to grant the US user access to the policy we've just created. To assign a policy, we use the following grant statement, then the name of our policy, in this case US policy. Next, we'll type toUser and enter the relevant users, in this case US users. It's important to mention we could also do the same for a role instead of a user, and then assign this role to multiple users. Next, we'll do the exact same thing for our Europe users and run the create policy statement. And when that finishes, we'll run the grant policy statement granting our Europe users with the Europe policy we just created. Great. So now that the policies were created and the permissions were granted to the relevant users, we can now query our data from the perspective of the different users and see what each of them sees with the new policies in place. Though before we go see each user's perspective, let's see the query results from the admin's perspective by running the select all from Timbr.order query. As we can see, an admin has access to see data from both Europe and the US. Now, let's switch users and check how it looks from the Europe and US users. To showcase the policy, I will start by logging into the platform using the Europe user credentials. And now, if I run a query of select all from Timbr.order from the Europe user perspective, we will see that the results only include data from Europe orders. We can see that this is also the case when running a query of select all from Timbr.customer, since the policy was applied on the country property, which also exists in the customer concept. This, of course, will be the identical case when running the same queries from the perspective of the US user. So let's log in using the US credentials and run the same queries. Here too, we see that the US user only has access to data from US orders due to the policy put in place. We can see that the policy is filtering the result set based on a specific value of the property, therefore applying a row-level security control on the data. It's important to mention, in cases where there are multiple policies over the same property and a user has more than one policy assigned to him, Timbr will use the OR function between the policies and show the user all the data according to all the policies assigned to him. And there you have it, a simple walkthrough on how to create row-level security policies over properties in Timbr. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in our next videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.